Hey, it's Chris, and today we're checking out a very awesome wireless mechanical RGB keyboard for Apple products, for iPads, and for Macs. So this is my Vinpok Taptek keyboard review, and shout out to everybody that's been waiting since the iPad mini video. In this video, I'm gonna talk about the good, and I'm gonna talk about the bad, pretty straightforward. At the end, I'm gonna give you a straight up conclusion for who should buy this, a recommendation. And I'm gonna put the timestamps for all the little pieces of this video down in the description, so you can skip around. But first though, why even get a mechanical keyboard in the first place? Aren't thinner keyboards just better? Well, look at this thing. Look at the style. And listen to it too. If you wanna hear yourself typing, if you like that audio feedback, then that is why you get a mechanical keyboard. It's just preference. Some people like the thin, portable, no travel, and some people love lots of travel and lots of feedback and lots of lighting, and that's this keyboard. So what's the breakdown? What are we working with here? This is a Mac layout mechanical keyboard, which can be used with or without a cable, so AKA it's wireless. It supports Mac, Windows, and iOS devices, you can see on the switch here, and you can pair it with up to 3 devices simultaneously. It's pretty portable, and it features 19 different RGB patterns. Great, so let's talk about everything that's good about this keyboard, starting with the looks. Now I've alluded already, this thing looks really good. When I say it looks really good, I mean it looks really good. Have you ever seen other mechanical keyboards out there, especially the ones that are available for Mac? They don't all look good. That's not something that you can say. Sometimes they're very chunky and clunky, or they look like they're straight out of the 1990s. And this at least looks modern, slim, compact, and it does have a good chill vibe and aesthetic about it. It's gonna look good sitting on your desk, even with the lights off. I really like that metal band, the frame, like going around the side of this thing. That makes it look really nice up close. So the looks are good and the clicks are good. This thing sounds so good. If you've never used a mechanical keyboard before, and if you're an Apple user, I don't blame you for not having used one or not remembering using one from back in the day, or thinking they're just super out of date, like technology from the past, because Apple's always going like thinner, thinner, thinner. And you know, everyone doesn't love Apple's keyboards. I do, for the most part, really like Apple's keyboards. Just as a blanket statement, no, they're not perfect, but I also have really come to like this mechanical keyboard. I like that audio feedback, and in fact, I overemphasize it. I'm sitting there typing in the office, I'm like boom, 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 enter, spacebar, escape key. I smash those things because I love hearing that feedback. All right, so look, let me just type a little bit on it and you can listen to this sweet music to the ears. All right, very satisfying, although highly annoying if you have people working right around you, but still. So here is what it looks like, or it sounds like, both actually, when I'm typing on Apple's Magic Keyboard, just for comparison. And while we're at it, why don't I type around a little bit, let you listen to it, see what it looks like on the official iPad Pro keyboard. Typing on this mechanical keyboard is so much better than just typing on glass. So the clicks are nice. In just a minute, I'm gonna talk more about the actual typing experience. I've kind of listed that under the bad section. You'll see in just a minute. It's not that bad, but there's some things you need to know about. So let's move on to the lights, which is probably one of the things that you're really here for, because the Mac people want to get in, and the iPad people, iOS, on the RGB thing. It's not just for gamers, right? You can have a clean, nice, minimal Mac setup, but still crave some RGB. And so this is maybe the keyboard and the component to bring that into your life. The really crazy rainbow, flowy light schemes where it's just going all over the place, those are cool, but I have tended to, after the novelty wore off, just kind of use the really subtle light patterns. Maybe the ones that like light up a little bit when you click, or something like that. Something that's not super distracting. And I love how if you're in a dark room, then these lights just light up everything around. Like it really bounces off your Mac in magical ways on the aluminum, for instance. So this can be a really fun thing, like early in the morning or late at night. There's a button up on the top right. It's the top right most button, and it lets you flip through all of the different light schemes. And I'm frequently hitting that on accident. So honestly, even if I've picked a light scheme, I'm often like skipping around and doing other stuff that I didn't even intend to because I've accidentally hit that button. And then it takes a while to get back to it and you're just like, whatever. And you kind of roll with whatever the light scheme is. But whatever it is, it's probably pretty cool. Hey, I know some of you guys are getting bored with this video now that the lights are over and you want to jet out of here. So check out this video right here, which I've linked up. Hopefully this is the right corner. It's about the iPad apps that make the iPad worth owning. I think you're really gonna like it. For everybody else though, let's move on, talking about the wirelessness of this keyboard. It's wireless, you can use it wired. I like that there's an option. I'll talk about the battery more in just a second, but it's very nice to be able to take this with you in a portable setup, go set up at like the coffee shop since it is kind of portable, and just be able to get right to work and not have to worry about connecting anything up. I mean, if it had a wire, it would not be portable, but it is. And the cord that it uses is USB-C, which is awesome. I'm glad that it's USB-C. If this was USB-A or some weird little shrinky dink of a connector, I would be ticked. But I'm not, I'm happy with it. So we've covered the good stuff, the looks, the lights, the clickiness, the USB-C, the wireless, but now it's time to talk about some of the stuff that maybe isn't so good, that could use some improving maybe in the next version, the bad stuff. So basically I've split the bad things into two different categories. Number one are typing downsides, and number two are wireless downsides. When it comes to typing on this keyboard, there's sort of a split personality going on. What I mean by that is sometimes the keys are so sensitive that if you barely touch it, it starts like ghost typing on you. And you're like, sometimes I'll just have my hands like resting on the keyboard and I don't realize I'm touching shift or something and everything is like messing up on my screen. And I'm like, oh, it's the keyboard. And it takes me a while. And then I kind of got used to it because it happens that much. And what's weird is even though it's so sensitive sometimes, at other times it feels like you really need to mash down in order to make that key press that you need to. So what I would say is that there's a bit of a learning curve. It took me a good 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks to really feel comfortable with this keyboard and learn its quirks and kind of put up with a few things that I wasn't used to. But after those 2 weeks, I really did settle into it and started to like it and understand it and know how to use it. So I would say, if you understand there's a bit of that learning curve going in, you can get used to it and you can come to a place where you really do like it. Something else that's related to typing is just the keyboard layout. There's a few weird things, some irregularities, like the shift key on the right side of the keyboard is really tiny, it's really small. And so if you're just not used to that, if you're used to that full-size shift and you're searching for it with the pinky, you know, it's gonna be a little bit different finding that. Just with muscle memory. And then the keys on the left side that usually have symbols on them, like on Apple keyboards, like the command key for instance, those symbols aren't there. It's just the words. Not a big deal. But if you're like a visual person and you're kind of looking for those things, then, you know, tough luck. Personally though, just to be honest, neither of those two things has been a huge deal for me. I'm just pointing them out because they're different. While we're talking about the bad stuff, I have to mention some wireless downsides. Number one being the battery life. So with a crazy RGB thing like this, I have noticed that if it's really using like one of the crazy patterns and you're typing a lot on it, you can expect to charge this thing every single day if you're using it wirelessly. It's like plug in your iPhone, plug in your iPad, charge your Apple Watch, and charge this keyboard. So it's one extra thing to charge if you're a heavy user. And sometimes I don't even get through the day, the lights like shut off and go into low power mode, and that's kind of annoying. If you've got it in wireless mode and you go and do something and it falls asleep and you come back to your computer and you start tapping away thinking you're starting on an email or something, it's gonna take it a couple of seconds. I mean like a second or two to reconnect. And so then you're like, oh, okay. And you get the little thing that says reconnected keyboard and then you start over. And so that's one of the things, one of the quirks about this keyboard, one of the personality things that you gotta get used to. Because on the Apple keyboards, it's just like instant. It seems like all the time the battery life is amazing, but of course, they're a little bit less fun in terms of the clickiness and the lights. So it's a trade-off. All right, so here's my conclusion. Number one, if you are a professional writer, writing is your life, your livelihood, you make money writing, I'm probably gonna recommend you steer clear of this keyboard. I know that's gonna be heartbreaking to some of you because you see it and you love how it looks, and you wanna spice up your setup, but just to be honest, I don't know if I would be wanting to write a novel or something with this keyboard. On the other hand, if you're the kind of person who's just doing some email, some web surfing, really light computing in terms of typing, then this is the keyboard for you, I think. If you just wanna make your setup look really awesome and bring a little life to it, you know, you want some minimal, because when the lights are off, it still looks great as just like a minimal keyboard. But, you know, then it's like nighttime and you really want to rev it up a little bit. Okay, I'm going overboard because this keyboard is not really gonna rev up your life. But this is the keyboard for those kinds of users. All right, thanks for watching to the end of the video. Because you did, let me make a personal recommendation for something that you can watch next. It's gonna help you with your keyboard quest. I have a lot of keyboard videos, especially for iPad stuff. You can use this keyboard, obviously, with iPads, but there are some other dedicated iPad keyboards that I've reviewed, all the good ones. I'm gonna link those up down in the description. You should go down there and watch those next. Also, I'm doing an amazing iPad setup, like the coolest iPad only setup I think anyone has ever put together. And that's coming out next week. So look for that before the Apple event. So if you're not subscribed, make sure that you are with that bell turned on so you can find all this great content. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Later.